The Whispering Tunnel. Welcome to Harrowing Tales, where the most chilling stories await you. Tonight, I'll guide you through a tale that might just linger in your mind long after the lights go out. Before we begin, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Share where you're watching from and the time. It's always darkest before dawn, isn't it? Now get comfortable, relax, then let's step into the shadows together. In the quiet, unassuming town of Ravenswood, there was a legend, one that no one dared to challenge. Deep in the forest, past the crumbling stone church, lay an abandoned railway tunnel. The locals called it the Whispering Tunnel. No one knew its real name or why it had been sealed off with rusted iron gates, but everyone had heard the stories, tales of those who entered and never came out. Emma was 17, smart, headstrong, and completely unafraid of ghost stories. They're just nonsense, she'd say. Made-up tales to scare kids. Her older brother Jason disagreed. He told her about the tunnel. He dared her to go inside. And on Halloween night, under a pale crescent moon, Emma decided to prove him wrong. She carried a flashlight in one hand and her phone in the other. The forest was silent. So silent, her every step seemed deafening. Leaves crunched beneath her boots, their dry, brittle sound echoing in the cold night air. Ahead, the tunnel loomed, a gaping black mouth, surrounded by crumbling bricks and tangled vines. The iron gates had been bent open long ago, the rusted bars twisted like skeletal fingers. Emma hesitated. The air was colder here. It felt heavy. Still, she shook it off. "This is stupid," she muttered, then stepped inside. The beam of her flashlight swept over the tunnel walls. They were damp and covered in moss. Faded graffiti marked the stone, their shapes distorted by years of decay. "Nothing scary so far," she said aloud. Her voice echoed faintly, a hollow sound swallowed by the darkness. She took another step, and then she heard it. A whisper, so soft it could have been the wind. "Emma?" She froze. Her name echoed through the tunnel, warped and twisting, as if the darkness itself was speaking. "Jason," she called out, her voice shaking. "If this is a prank, it's not funny." Her words felt small and insignificant against the oppressive silence that followed. The whispering returned, but this time it wasn't one voice. It was many, dozens, maybe hundreds, layered and overlapping, speaking in a language she couldn't understand. She spun around, the flashlight trembling in her hand. Its beam landed on a figure at the far end of the tunnel, pale, still, motionless. "Who's there?" she called, her voice cracking. The figure didn't move at first, then it took a step forward. The whispers grew louder, a deafening roar of incomprehensible voices filling every inch of the tunnel. The flashlight flickered and went out. Emma's world plunged into darkness. She fumbled for her phone, its screen casting a dim, pitiful glow. Her hands were shaking. Her breaths came fast and shallow. She turned to run, but something was wrong. The tunnel seemed longer. The iron gates were gone. The walls, they were closing in. A hand brushed her shoulder. Cold, clammy. She screamed and whipped around. No one was there. The figure, it was closer now. Close enough that she could see its face, or rather, its lack of one. Hollow eye sockets stared back at her. Its mouth, if it could be called that, stretched impossibly wide, as if it were devouring the darkness itself. "You shouldn't have come," the voices hissed, speaking as one. Emma ran. Her legs burned, her chest ached, but she didn't stop. She didn't dare. The whispers chased her, growing louder and louder, until she burst out of the tunnel and collapsed onto the forest floor. When she looked back, the tunnel was gone. In its place was nothing but solid earth, as if it had never existed. Back in town, no one believed her. The tunnel, they said, had been sealed for decades. Some claimed it had collapsed, trapping workers inside. Emma never went near the forest again. But sometimes, late at night, when she was alone in her room, she swore she could still hear the whispers.